Yo guys, how we doing? This is the round of 16 roundup from the Champions League. It was one of the most iconic round of 16s in recent memory, probably in history as well. So I'll talk about all of the main things that happened in this round, and yeah, just got to address the hat situation. My hair's clapped. I don't really want to be showing it too much, so that's why I wear a hat, even though it's 9:15 at night. So yeah. Anyway. The first game was Ajax versus Real Madrid. One of the most iconic nights for Ajax in recent memory. So they come into the second leg 2-1 down. They played the first leg at home. Ramos got yellow carded. He said it was on purpose so he could miss the second leg and be ready for the quarterfinals. But turns out Ajax come to the Bernabeu, and they beat him 4-1. They ended up winning 5-3 on aggregate. One of the most iconic nights in Ajax's recent history, as I said. Dusan Tadic was the man of the match in this one. He played absolutely insane. He just showed Luka Modric up completely. It was only 2 years ago he was playing through ball to Shane Long at Southampton. So to come to the Bernabeu and just show everyone up from Dusan Tadic, no one expected that, and it was just so good to watch. It's been about 24 years, I think, since they last won the Champions League. So this young side with the likes of De Jong and De Ligt, and you got Dolberg up top, you'd think they could take the club into the next step, like become competitive in Europe again, but it looks like De Ligt and De Jong are out to Barcelona, so it's a bit of a shame, but it's understandable. Ajax haven't been really contending in the last sort of 20 years, and I'm sure wherever they go they'll be the best in the world at some stage. But Real Madrid, how embarrassing. Real Madrid have won the Champions League 3 years running, the first team to win it 3 times in a row. No one expected them to lose to Ajax. They're such a young squad against this experienced Real Madrid side, and they just got walked all over. They haven't been kicked out this early since Ronaldo joined them in, I think it was 2008, and ever since he's joined them, they've progressed further. After this game, they sacked their manager, Santiago Solari. So he took over in October of last year, and he's already been sacked, which is pretty embarrassing. They've got Zinedine Zidane back in, which is pretty embarrassing. It's pretty big shambles at the club at the moment, but I'm sure they'll bounce back soon and they'll be back to their glory days in no time. The next game I'm going to discuss is Dortmund versus Tottenham. This one could have gone either way at the start. Dortmund have had a really good season in the Bundesliga this year. They've been sitting up the top for the majority of the season. I'm not sure if they still are. I think Bayern are coming close to them, but they've been playing really well. The likes of Sancho and Royce coming back into form. In the first leg, Spurs had lots of injuries. Like Harry Kane, their main striker, was injured. They had to play Llorente, but they came through and did what they needed to do at home, so they didn't have to worry too much in the second leg. And Kane came back in the second leg and he scored a goal, and that put the nail in the coffin to put Tottenham through. Porto versus Roma, I'll go over this on quickly because there's a lot to talk about, but Porto coming back from 2-1 down against Rome is not an easy thing to do at all. Roma's such an experienced side. You've got De Rossi in the midfield. He's no one to be messing with. You've got Manolas at centre-back, and he's one of the best centre-backs in Italy at the moment. So yeah, props to Porto. I don't think they'll go too far. I hope I'm wrong, because it's always good to hear an underdog story, but it's good to see a Portuguese team back in the running in the last 8 of the Champions League. My boys, Man United. Yeah. This fucking game, man. Got up for the first leg, lost 2-0. We couldn't really do much after Martial and Lingard got subbed off. All hope was pretty much lost. You got to go to France and beat Paris 3-0 in their own backyard. I don't think any team has ever done that in the Champions League history against Paris. Got Scott McTominay playing in the midfield. You got Fred, who's done nothing all season for us. And these two just absolutely bossed it, showing up the likes of Verratti and Marquinhos, who absolutely walked all over Pogba and Matic in the first game. For McTominay and Fred to step up when it really mattered is really promising. People say that it's a bit of a cheap win. Lukaku scored off 2 mistakes and Rashford got a penalty that shouldn't have been given. I think it should have been given, but might be a bit of bias. But that's what a good striker does. He followed up on the mistake by Buffon for his second goal when none of the PSG defenders were alert to it. He knew what he was doing. That put us 2-1 up. And his first goal was just lazy by PSG. You can't be making mistakes like that against strikers as good as Lukaku. I know he's been pretty crappy this season, but he's always got that quality, and you can't be making those type of passes when we have everything to play for. Bailly was shocking. He's got walked all over. He got subbed off late in the first half. Dalot came on and that made our defence a bit more solid. The penalty. So I think it was a penalty. Neymar's had a little rant about it and a cry as he usually does, but Kimpembe jumps up, turns his back. You're never meant to do that as a defender, as I know, because I'm big and hard and that. Jumps up, turns his back, sticks his arm out, hits him on the arm. It's a penalty. I'm not taking any other answers. So Rashford, with the balls of steel, buries it, top bins, and it's an iconic night in Paris. We got Mason Greenwood playing against the side with Neymar and Mbappe, and I'll put how much their transfer fees are up here. Mason Greenwood went to Paris, come home the next day, had training, then the day after he was back at school. Like, imagine going to school and saying, oh yeah, I just walked all over Mbappe and Neymar's squad, even though Neymar didn't play, but still. So sick. Man City vs Schalke, the first leg was absolutely insane. Schalke, I think they had 2 penalties. You never count City out. That Sane free kick was filthy. Filthy as my dots on my head I have right now, yeah? Filthy. And then Sterling in the dying embers of the game pops up and gets a goal. So you're thinking, after Schalke put a performance like that up against City at home, they might give it a bit of a go in the away leg, only for them to come to the Etihad and lose 7-0 in the Champions League. That's insane. 10-2 on aggregate. It's unheard of in Europe. And I wouldn't put it past City to win the quadruple. I wouldn't put it past City to win the quadruple. There we go, can't say it. Quadruple this year. So they've got the League Cup already in the bag. The Prem, they're in the front of the race at the moment, but I really hope they win it. I can't believe I'm saying that, but if Liverpool win it, I might jump off a bridge. The FA Cup, United are the only ones that are going to give them any trouble. All of the big dogs have been kicked out, like Chelsea, we beat them 2-0. Go on. And Arsenal. But yeah, Liverpool got kicked out early to Wolves. City could win the FA Cup, the League Cup, the League. And in the Champions League, with Real Madrid and PSG out, I can see City winning it this year. If City win the quadruple, I called it. Juventus versus Atletico Madrid, another iconic moment in this round. Atletico walked all over Juventus in the first leg. It was such a dominant performance at home, and they won 2-0 after, I think they had 2 disallowed goals. And Alvaro Morata, just after having such a terrible time at Chelsea, he really showed up and showed how good he really is. Diego Simeone got a bit confident and showed his bollocks off to the crowd, but that come back to bite him on the arse in the second leg. Ronaldo, the best player of all time, you never count him out, comes into the second leg and scores a hat-trick, like just cementing his place as the best ever. With 2 really good goals and a penalty, he's kicked out Atletico Madrid again. I think he's kicked Atletico out about 5 times since 2014. They're just having nightmares about him at this stage and just hoping that they don't come up against Ronaldo. But it's a bit of a bummer for Atletico Madrid. The final is in their stadium this year, so it would have been nice. But happy to see the back of Atletico. I'm sure they'll be back and contending again next season. Bayern versus Liverpool. So the first leg, it was one of the more entertaining 0-0s you can get. Salah had another off day, as he usually does against the big sides. And it was just a deadlock, but as I said, it was a sick game. Going into the second leg, Bayern are playing really well in the Bundesliga at the moment. I know they had a big win last weekend. And Liverpool, they have had a couple draws against Everton and United. So they come to the Allianz Arena up against Munich and they win 3-1 on the road. Sadio Mane had an absolute ball, just tearing up the defenses. He is on fire at the moment. He'd be in the top 10 attackers in Europe right now, I'd say. Just tore up the Bayern defense and yeah, kicked out Bayern, which is another big team that's been kicked out. Neuer is definitely on the decline. I haven't heard anything about him in years. He used to be talked about all the time. Top 3 in the Ballon d'Or a couple years ago, I remember. But you got like Robin and Ribéry. It's time for a refresh, I think. Muller's just been told that he's not going to be playing for Germany again, and it's just going all tits up at Bayern at the moment. The last game of the round was Barcelona versus Lyon. The first game, I didn't see the highlights of it. It was 0-0. So I didn't bother watching it. I'm a shit person, but whatever. And then this game, it's just what you'd expect from Barcelona versus Lyon. Messi just doing what Messi does. His dribbling is mental. Like, I was watching it, and the ball just sticks to his feet. It's like he's just got glue on his shoe. Messi just showed the Lyon defense who's boss, really, and just got the result which you would expect. But Barcelona, they're in good stead. Them and Juventus, I'd say, would be the favourites at the moment. New segment, Mug of the Month. Roll the music.
Mug of the Month. Yeah. This is the Mug of the Month. Mug of the Month. Mug of the Month. Mug of the month. This is the mug of the month.
You're a mug. No, I'm.
Mug of the month this month goes to Sergio Ramos, Neymar, and Diego Simeone. Sergio Ramos for purposely getting a yellow card to sit out the second leg and play the quarterfinals. Didn't get to the quarterfinals though, did ya? Mug. Neymar for just having a cry. I'll get up something that he said was absolutely ridiculous, calling the referees out for that handball decision.
They even put 4 guys who don't understand football to keep watching it in slow motion. This is surreal. How can the guy, Kimpembe, put his hand out if he's on his back? Oh, flip off. Twat.
Well, that's funny, Neymar, because it did hit his hand, you fucking wanker. And the final mug of the month goes to Diego Simeone. This one's a bit harsh, but he did the old crotch grab. I'll put it in here.
Uruguayan centre half.
Only to go and lose the second leg 3-0, get kicked out, and Ronaldo do it back to him. So I'll roll that clip. That's pretty funny. So I was just editing and I forgot a mug of the month. So I was just gonna. Angel Di Maria, you are the #1 mug of the month. You talked all that smack all them years ago. You left the best football club in the world, Man United. We loved you. You got injured. You couldn't be asked. Oh, fuck you. You're out of the Champions League. And I've got one thing to tell you. Take that L, Angel. Yeah? Little snake ass. Little pussy ass snake ass. You're out of the Champions League. Go do one.